What's up everyone, Ivan from Darkglass here, and today we'll take a look at the Luminal Booster Ultra pedal. Compared to most of our usual creations, the Luminal Booster Ultra focuses on delivering clean bass tone, and it has a lot of features to help you play your bass right where it belongs in a mix. It has a very powerful but intuitive and easy to use compression section, a 6-band graphical EQ with an additional semi-parametric mid-range control, 7 user-assignable cabinet simulations, and much more. So we'll explore the controls step by step and show you how each one of the controls affects your tone. Let's take a look at the controls of the Luminal Booster Ultra. To engage the pedal, we have to press the right foot switch, which is indicated by a power symbol. We can tell that the pedal is active because the LEDs of the 6-band graphic EQ light up. The controls of the Luminal Booster Ultra are divided into sections, and we're going to cover them step by step. The first one will be the 6-band graphic EQ and master. All the way to the left, we have the master volume control, which affects the overall volume of the pedal. And then we have the 6-band graphic EQ. It starts with a low shelf at 80 Hz. Then we have 250 Hz, 500 Hz, 1.5 kHz, 3 kHz, and a high shelf at 5 kHz. Next, we move to the Harmonic Booster section of the pedal, and it is made up of these two knobs on the left and these two knobs on the right. The top knob on the left controls the boost amount, and we can cut going counterclockwise or boost going clockwise up to 20 dB of gain. In the 12 o'clock position, the control is set flat. Right beneath the boost control, we have the character knob. All the way counterclockwise, it is set flat, and all the way clockwise, it is adding the maximum amount of boost to a predefined EQ curve. If you don't want to have any of the character boost, all you have to do is turn it all the way counterclockwise. Additionally, if we press the character knob, we can engage one of 7 different cabinet simulations that come preloaded with the Luminal Booster Ultra. We can also bypass it or change them using the Darkglass Suite software. On the right side of the pedal, we have the semi-parametric mid control. With the top knob, we control the selected frequency, and it ranges from 250 Hz all the way counterclockwise to 2.5 kHz all the way clockwise. With the knob beneath that, we control the boost or cut amount. All the way counterclockwise, we're cutting, and all the way clockwise, we're boosting, up to 20 dB of gain. It is set flat at the 12 o'clock position. When we press the left foot switch, we engage the compressor. And we can tell the compression is active because the LED right above the foot switch lights up. Also, when compression is being applied, the LEDs on the bottom portion of the pedal will light up, depending on the amount of gain reduction applied. If we hold down the left foot switch, we can access different modes of compression. We have the blue mode and also the red mode. The red mode places the compressor after the harmonic booster circuitry. So we have harmonic booster, compression, and the 6-band graphic EQ, and the blue mode places the compressor first in the signal chain. So we have compression, harmonic booster, and the 6-band graphic EQ. Let's swap back to the red mode. To control the compression, we use the knobs on the top portion of the pedal. The filter is an adjustable low-pass filter for the compressed signal. So we can use this to target exactly which frequencies we want to compress. For example, only the lows all the way counterclockwise, or the entire signal if we turn it up all the way clockwise. If we want, we can also place it somewhere in between to suit our needs. The comp knob controls the amount of compression applied to your signal. Turning it counterclockwise will result in less compression, and turning it clockwise will increase the amount of compression. As mentioned before, when gain reduction is being applied, the LEDs on the bottom portion of the pedal will light up, depending on the amount of compression being applied. The blend controls the ratio of clean and compressed signal. All the way counterclockwise, we're only going to hear clean signal, and all the way clockwise, we're only going to hear the compressed signal. Last but not least, we have the level, and it controls the volume of the compressed signal. If we're compressing too much and losing volume, we can raise this to compensate. On the top portion of the pedal, we have the input socket for you to connect your instrument, an auxiliary in for playback devices, for play-alongs or backing tracks, a 9-volt power supply socket, which requires 400 milliamperes, a headphone output for silent practice or playing, and the 1/4-inch output. On the right side of the pedal, we have the USB-C socket, and we can use this to connect the Luminal Booster Ultra to our computer to change or load different cabinet simulations. On the left side of the pedal, we have the XLR output to connect the Luminal Booster Ultra to a recording interface or mixing desk, and the ground lift switch, in case we have ground noise. Since we're showing the features of the Luminal Booster Ultra with very mild but also very extreme settings, especially regarding the EQ, I had to place a limiter on my signal chain to avoid clipping my channel strip. So you might hear some slight saturation at the very extreme settings, but let me assure you that the Luminal Booster Ultra remains completely clean no matter how much you boost. Right now, the pedal is bypassed, and this is how the bass sounds like on its own. If I engage it, and right now everything is flat, as you can hear, even when the pedal is engaged, it's very transparent. There's not any change in the tone. I'm going to engage it one more time, and we will start with the Harmonic Booster section of the pedal. And that is these two controls here and these other two controls on the right. The first thing I'll do is increase the boost to about 3 o'clock, more or less, because that's how I gain stage the pedal to show all the EQ, the compression, and cabinets, and so on. Then we'll move on to the character section, and that is this knob on the bottom. And that one applies a predetermined EQ curve to your sound. So you don't have to deal with the 6-band EQ section or the semi-parametric mids. So I'm going to start raising that up so you can hear what it does to your signal. Right now it is flat. Flat again. And let's go a bit higher. And all the way up. Back to flat, and I'm going to use a pick. And all the way up. As you can hear, it scoops out a bit of the honkier mid-range and boosts some of the upper mid-range and treble without making the signal harsh, which is really, really cool because I can boost it all the way up and it's not hissy. It is not piercing, but you do get a lot more definition, especially when playing with a pick. If you play with fingers, it feels a bit more, let's say, modern in character overall, but you still have definition even though we're cutting a portion of the mid-range. And it's also great for aggressive fingerstyle, of course. Compared to, let's go all the way flat. It does apply a pretty drastic EQ curve to your tone if you boost it all the way, but you don't have to be as extreme all the time, even though it sounds very musical at extreme settings. You can just blend in just a bit of the character circuitry. And then use the other EQ knobs or sliders to adjust your tone further. Now we'll move on to the right side of the Luminal Booster Ultra. I'm going to set this back to flat. And here we have the semi-parametric mid-range control. And this one is really, really useful to boost or cut specific frequencies. Personally, I like to use it to boost specific frequencies, especially like looking for a frequency to accentuate pick attack, for example. So I'm going to start playing flat. And I'm going to boost quite a bit. And then I can sweep for the frequency that I want to either boost or cut. You can hear right there that adds some sparkle, some of that metallic attack to the pick. So of course I'm not going to boost as much, I'm going to pull back. Like that, for example. Or if you want to scoop out a different portion of the mid-range, let's say maybe for slapping, I'm going to boost again quite a bit. Right around that area, more or less. And cut a little bit. Compared to flat. I'm going to cut again. And you can hear just with these two controls already, the character and the semi-parametric mids, we can do quite a bit of tonal shaping to our sound already. But on top of that, we also have the 6-band graphic EQ. So let's explore that. Now I'm going to set this to flat again. The character is flat. I'm leaving the boost on for now. So the first one is the master. So this controls also the overall volume of the pedal, which is pretty useful. I'm going to leave that alone right now, but we'll boost some bass right now. As you can hear, it's a very powerful boost. So probably you don't want to boost this or raise this up too much. So healthy areas like around there is usually quite a bit. And you can, of course, cut bass as well. Things get a bit boomy, for example. Next, we have 250 Hertz. And this one is a really useful frequency to have control over because depending on the genre that you're playing, it can be pretty muddy. So being able to cut down that frequency is going to be helpful. On the other hand, it does add a bit of body to your tone, but it's easy to overuse if you boost too much. And if I boost this, you can clearly hear which frequency that is. Probably I wouldn't go as extreme to cutting it all the way down. Depending on your case, of course, you might want to do that, but that can lead to the bass losing a bit too much of power. But definitely cutting here doesn't hurt. And if you're playing fingerstyle, also depending on the genre, it can be good to boost there as well. Next, we move to 500 Hertz, and this is kind of like the nasal, like honky character that you can add or subtract from the bass. So that is, of course, a pretty extreme boost. Probably wouldn't go as extreme, maybe somewhere around there. And back to flat. Boosting a little bit again. So just a little bit of boost already places your bass a bit more forward. Now we'll move on to 1.5 kilohertz, and I'm going to boost this quite a bit. And if I go to flat, now cutting, boosting the frequency is a great way to add some clarity without making the sound harsh. Similar to 1.5 kilohertz, another great way to add clarity without adding harshness, and also to push drives to really stand out a bit more in the mix and cut through really heavy guitars, is to boost 3 kilohertz. So I'm going to boost this quite a bit. And pull it back down. And boost it again. As you can hear, that really brings out a bit of the attack as well, while not making the sound harsh. So that's really, really useful. And the final slider for the graphic EQ is the treble control, and I'm going to boost this just to demonstrate. And pull it. Right now we're flat. And if I boost just a bit, you can already hear that really happening there. A situation where you might probably want to boost a bit more treble though is when you engage the cabinet section. And you can do that when you press here on the character control. You can see all the LEDs lighting up, and we can switch between 7 different cabinets that come preloaded onto the pedal, but you can also change them if you connect the pedal to the Darkglass suite. And let's bypass again. Now we're bypassed when all the LEDs light up. And let's go to the first one. Second one. Third. And the last one. Or bypassed one more time. As you can hear, when you add the cabinet, the sound does get quite a bit darker. And for the intro tracks, I used the second slot, if I remember correctly, where I loaded Darkglass 4x12 cabinet. And here I can boost a bit more treble without worrying that the sound will get too harsh. I can even go higher. Or even use a pick. Having the option to add the cap simulation is really useful if you play with distortion, for example, before the Luminal Booster Ultra, or if you play aggressively with a pick and you want to round off a little bit of the harshness that can happen in an aggressive setting. And for example, for the rock track in the beginning, I did use the cap simulation, but for the fingerstyle one, I bypassed it. And it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of creating your tone. And that is even without going into the compression section, which is what we're going to cover next. To engage the compression, we have to press this foot switch, and now this LED lights up. From left to right, we have the filter control in the compression section, and that controls the low pass filter of the compression. So how much top end signal will be in the compression. And right now it's full on, so it's everything. If I roll this down all the way counterclockwise and consider that we have the blend all the way up as well, you're only going to hear the low end frequencies because we have the blend control all the way up. So we're hearing only the compressed signal, and we have the low pass all the way down. And if I start raising this, compared to closed, and all the way up. So what this allows us to do is to really pinpoint which frequencies we want to have compressed, and then we have the option to blend them with our clean signal by using the blend control. And of course, we can also control how much they're going to get compressed by using the compression knob. So if I just want my lows to be compressed, let's say around here, for example, I'm going to have to blend all the way up just to monitor. So I am compressing, and now let's say I want to do some parallel compression. So my lows are compressed and they're blended with my clean signal. I'm going to raise this a little bit. Maybe a bit more. So I have a really punchy and consistent low end, but the top end is uncompressed, allowing me to have some dynamics there. And that's also really useful when you play aggressively with a pick, for example. Right? So my lows are really consistent and punchy, so they're going to be supportive for the rest of the band, but I'm still having the clarity of the uncompressed mid-range and top end. For more information on the Luminal Booster Ultra, please visit darkglass.com or click the link in the description below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.